Hi, so in this video I'm going to talk about formative assessment and summative assessment. These are two different types of assessment that we can include when we're teaching. Okay, this is going to be a brief video, I hope. So let's first have a look at what this means. Formative assessment is during the learning process. Okay, summative assessment is at the end of the learning process. So that's the main difference. Right, let's have a look at this in more detail. Okay, so formative assessment is assessment for learning. Because it's part of the process of learning, it's assessment that gives the teacher an idea about students' progress and, what kind of activities or content and materials might be needed for the learning. It kind of checks their progress, okay? Summative assessment is assessment of learning. So summative assessment is at the end and it's looking back and it's checking what students have learned previously. Okay, so have a look at the purpose. Formative assessment is to improve learning and teaching, okay? So because it's during the process, it can inform our teaching. Summative assessment is a measure of competency. It's a measure of the student's ability at the end of a course or semester. Okay, so when formative assessment is ongoing, it should be built into our teaching, and summative assessment is at the end of the course or the end of a module and so on. And for how it is used by students, formative assessment is related to learning through feedback and practice, okay? So the formative assessment gives feedback to the students about how well they're doing as well as the teacher. Okay, and summative assessment is kind of for grades or, final scores and so on. Okay, so those are the differences of formative and summative assessment. Now, I want to give you a suggestion about formative and it could be summative as well, assessment of grammar. Okay, so when you're teaching grammar, one way of testing is discrete point grammar test. So this means checking specific aspects of grammar. This is testing the learning of specific grammar points. Okay, so I want to give you a couple of suggestions of tools that you can use for discrete point grammar tests. This could be formative or summative assessment. But first, watch this video.
21세기 멀티미디어 교실로 함께 가보자. 여기는 논계의 혼이 담긴 역사의 고장 경남 진주. 이곳에 이색 학습 시스템으로 수업을 하는 학교가 있다고 해서 바로 달려왔는데 평범해 보이는 이 학교에 대체 어떤 일이 벌어지고 있는 것일까? 수소문 끝에 찾아간 과학실에서 특별한 수업이 진행되고 있었다. 그런데 깎아머리를 한 학생들과 그 앞에 펼쳐진 교과서가 전부? 아니 이게 대체 뭐가 특별하다는 말씀이세요?
정자는 부정소에서 생성된다. 맞으면 1번, 틀리면 2번 눌러주세요.
선생님께서 문제를 내자마자 저마다 리모컨을 작동시키는 학생들. 혹시 이것이 오늘의 주인공?
네, 이거 지금 뭐예요?
수업 시간에 선생님께서 문제를 내는 걸 맞출 때 사용하는 클리커라고 합니다.
휴대폰같이 생긴 이 기기의 이름은 클리커. 교사가 문제를 제시하면 학생들은 이 클리커에 자신이 생각한 답을 입력하게 되고 교사는 그 답을 컴퓨터를 통해 실시간으로 확인할 수 있는 시스템이다. 답안 확인뿐만 아니라 개인의 합산 점수를 저장할 수 있어 수행평가 반영과 개별 지도를 효과적으로 할 수 있다.
클리커를 사용하면요 기록이 남고요. 다른 친구들과 점수를 비교하면서 제 등수가 얼마나 되는지 확인할 수 있고 제 실력을 확인할 수 있어서 좋습니다.
수업이 지루하지 않았고요. 예전에는 바로바로 확인하지 못해서 몰랐는데 지금은 바로바로 확인할 수 있고 선생님이 그 자리에 설명할 수 있어서 되게 좋은 것 같아요.
여기서 잠깐 과거의 시험 시간으로 되돌아가 볼까? 온종일 시험지에 얼굴을 파묻고 문제와 사투를 벌이는 학생들, 그리고 시험지를 회수한 교사는 이제 한 답 한 답 일일이 채점을 하게 되는데 넘겨도 줄지 않은 시험지 때문에 선생님의 한숨만 늘지 않았던가? 하지만 이제 시험 시간이 달라졌다. 학생들이여 고개를 들라. 그리고 클리커에 정답을 입력하라.
Okay, so you saw in that video, in a Korean high school setting, you saw them using these things called clickers, or a student response system, okay? So the clickers allow the students to do these kind of like individual quizzes and their answers are logged and sent to the teacher on an individual basis. Okay, so this is a kind of student response system. Now this video is a little bit old and the technology that we're using was a little bit old, but it does have some benefits because it allows the teacher to check one by one very easily and very specifically what the learners are learning, what the issues are, you know, any kind of common errors and mistakes the learners are making. Okay, so this kind of technology is pretty good for checking learners' progress related to grammar. But as I mentioned, the clickers in that video you saw were a little bit old, but there are some new services that allow you to do something very similar. These are online services that work on desktop, laptop, tablets, and even smartphones as well. This is the first one. This is called Kahoot, and what this allows the teacher to do is create a teacher's account and quizzes, and then the students join the teacher's online classroom, and when the teacher starts a quiz, the students all have to participate and answer the questions in the quiz. The way that Kahoot works is the question is presented on the screen, and the students have these 4 options. You can see the shapes and the colors. Okay, so the students have 4 options to answer. Okay, Kahoot is kind of time limited. It's quite fast, it's colorful, it's fun. There's kind of sound effects and things. So it's quite a fun way of doing a quiz if all of the students have access to tablets or computers in a computer lab. Okay, so that's Kahoot. You can see the links here. If you want to create a teacher's account, you have to go to create.kahoot. And on that site, you can easily create quizzes and make questions and so on. Of course, that content could come from your textbook or your syllabus and so on. Okay, and then when students join, they go to, I think they go to kahoot.it and they input the teacher's kind of room code to join the teacher's classroom. So that's Kahoot. Here's another option as well. This is Socrative. Okay, so Socrative is quite similar. Okay, so the teacher has to make a teacher's account, and on that account you can create your quizzes. And then when you want to use this in the classroom, the students go to Socrative, they log in as a student, they input the teacher's room code, and then the students can go through the quiz. Socrative is actually a little bit more advanced than Kahoot. There are more question types, okay, so you can have multiple choice, open answer, true or false, maybe a couple of other things as well. So Socrative is a bit more flexible in terms of what kind of questions you can have. It's also more flexible because the learners can go through it at their own speed, and even you can change settings like randomize questions and allow students to go back and allow students to see the answers and things like that. So Socrative is a bit more flexible. It's got more options, but essentially it's kind of the same kind of thing as Kahoot. So I strongly recommend go and check it out. It's free. You can create a teacher's account, play around with it at home and just see how it works. If you're going to use it in the classroom, I suggest the first few times, just do it for fun. Don't make a big kind of deal out of it. Don't make it a high stakes test or anything like that. So yeah, just try it in the classroom and see if the learners like it. But the great thing about these is that when the learners have finished the quiz, the teacher can access all of the content, all of the answers, and get a report for all of the students, which questions they had difficulty with, which students are having more difficulty than others. So it really does allow you to assess and check students' progress. Okay, so those are my suggestions for formative assessment and even potentially summative assessment as well. These could be used. Okay, I hope that was useful. Thank you very much.